Good morning. Welcome to Daily Focus. I trust this week will be way better than the last 2 weeks in my schedule. At least looking at my schedule this morning, it looks way better this week than it has the last couple of weeks. But 'tis the season of the summer and some crazy busy times. But I'm glad to be finishing up towards the end of Matthew chapter 12. I'll have one more lesson at the very end about Jesus reflecting on our physical family versus our spiritual family and how they are related. Today we're looking at verse number 38. Then certain of the scribes and of the Pharisees answered, saying, Master, we would see a sign from thee. But he answered and said unto them, An evil and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall be no sign given to them, but the sign of the prophet Jonah. For as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. The men of Nineveh shall rise in judgment with this generation, and shall condemn it, because they repented at the preaching of Jonah, and behold, a greater than Jonah is here. The queen of the south shall rise up in the judgment with this generation, and shall condemn it, for she came from the uttermost parts of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and behold, a greater than Solomon is here. When the unclean spirit is gone out of a man, he walketh through dry places, seeking rest, and findeth none. Then he saith, I will return into my house from whence I came out, and when he is come, he findeth it empty, swept, and garnished. Then goeth he and taketh with himself 7 other spirits more wicked than himself, and they enter in and dwell there, and the last state of that man is worse than the first. Even so shall it be also unto this wicked generation. There's a lot going on in this text, and Jesus is going to use the illustration of casting out a demon out of a person as an illustration as to what's going on with the Jewish nation. And specifically, these Pharisees and these scribes who are basically having a form of godliness, but denying the true power of God, trying to live righteously in their self-ability, self-righteousness, promoting self, working hard to have personal gain from their righteousness, from their status. We have the same thing that goes on in some Christians today. They live their lives trying to convince everybody how spiritual they are. They tell everybody all the great things that they do, and how spiritual they are, and how many works they do, and it may or may not be true of their spiritual condition. But I would say if they feel like they have to tell everyone about their spiritual walk, they probably are not all that spiritual. And yet they feel like they have to always be convincing people about where they are spiritually, because it's not true. And that's exactly what was going on with the Pharisees and the scribes and the Sadducees and that whole crowd. And they come to Jesus and they say, give us a sign. Prove to us. You got to prove it. And Jesus said to them, listen, I don't have to prove anything. You're a wicked and an adulterous generation. In other words, you don't want God. You're not worshiping God. You're not interested in God. You are evil and adulterous. You have other gods, namely yourself. And so they worshiped power and preeminence and money. They wanted control. And so that's what they worshiped. And Jesus addresses them and says, you're not going to get a sign. He said, even in the Old Testament, Jonah went and gave them truth, and they repented. And you have one that is greater than Jonah. And even the Queen of Sheba came over to see the wealth and wisdom of Solomon, and concluded the half has not been told. And yet Jesus says, you have one greater than Solomon, and you want nothing to do with me. So why would I give you a sign? He gives the illustration then about the man with a demon. And he said, as a demon goes out of a person and it wanders in dry and desert places, and it has no place of rest. In other words, it's never going to be satisfied. The devil never stops deceiving. He never stops destroying. He's always looking for a place to do his bidding, to wreak havoc for the cause of Christ and in the people that God has created. And he likens these Pharisees and scribes to the fact that Jesus Christ is able to do so much for them, but they want nothing to do with him. And so the demon comes back and he sees that this person has cleaned their heart, their life, and set it up, and it's ready for dwelling. But they've never replaced it with Christ. They've never filled it with truth. They've never followed after righteousness that is born of the Spirit. They don't want anything to do with that. They simply don't want the consequences of the demon. So what the demon does is he gains 7 other demons more wicked, which seems to indicate that there are degrees of wickedness in the different demons. And they come and they take up residence, and that's what's going to happen to Israel, is that the state of Israel is going to be more wicked than even it was before Jesus came. And so as much as they wanted a sign and as much as they had all the proof standing in front of them, they didn't want it. And what's going to happen is, because they rejected Jesus Christ and they want nothing to do with the salvation that he offers, their future state is way worse than what it was before Jesus ever came. And so as we're looking at the text, and we're reminded here that Jesus says that this wicked this wicked generation is going to experience that same type of reality. And that is that those who reject Christ are signing up for a whole lot more trouble than what they had before they even knew about Christ. And the same thing is true for those who grow up in a Christian home, those that get a chance to go to a Christian school, they have parents or grandparents that faithfully bring them to church. If they reject all of that truth, their future state is going to be way worse than it was before they were taught all of that. And what a sad connotation to Israel, who was going to cry out, "Crucify him. We want nothing to do with this man. We will not have him rule over us." And it will look like the Pharisees and the scribes have won, but in reality, they haven't won. This was part of God's amazing plan that he wove together for the very sake of reconciling his creation back to himself and giving them a legitimate path to eternal life through Jesus Christ. But they didn't see it that way. They saw it as a win. And they didn't win. They will never win. The devil can't win. He is a loser that is already lost, and he just refuses to accept it. But one day he will have no choice but to realize and accept that he has lost. And so I say all of that to simply say this: truth is what we pursue. Truth is what we promote. Truth is what we want to demonstrate in our lives, in our attitudes, in our conversations. We want to make truth the priority because it's the only answer. And we live in a generation today that wants everything proven to them, but it's not because they're looking for truth. They're actually looking for a way to discredit truth, to try to disprove truth. And don't waste your time trying to convince people of truth who don't really want truth. Spend your time investing in people who are looking for truth and will respond to truth and allow the truth to change their life. God bless you. I hope you have a great day. I'll look